Hey guys, welcome back to my shop. Today we're going to talk about this, my clamp rack. Several years ago, we put that up on the wall. I did a whole video on that, so you can go back and take a look at it. Me and my niece Reese built it. She was a lot younger back then. She's 15 now. But I think we're going to go in, we're going to look at what works, what I really like, what I haven't had an issue with, what I could use some improvement, and stuff that I never even used. This whole top section has worked really, really well. I don't have any complaints. The little spacers move a little bit, but the nice long length of these keeps them nicely separated, so it's real easy to just go in there and grab them. I've been pretty happy with that. I still have some more room to expand. I don't know if I'll be getting a whole lot more clamps as far as these F clamps go. I'm doing pretty good with them. On this side over here, get out of the way so you can see, I have these bar clamps. I got these at Harbor Freight. They've worked pretty good. I use those for gluing up panels. I might get a couple more of them, and I allotted 2 extra slots for 2 of those. I would like eventually to get some really nice parallel clamps, Jet or Bessie or some really nice brand of them. And I'd like to be able to figure out how to get them up here. Maybe like 4 or 3, just enough to really glue up panels really good. These work, but you have to finagle them, and I heard that the parallel clamps will be better, but they're costly, so that's why I don't right now have any in my shop. But for the most part, this whole upper section really worked, and I don't really have too many complaints about it. It's held up, and it's been easy to grab, so stuff from there. Let's go down and take a look at the lower section. Okay, over here I have my smaller clamps. There's not a whole lot of room here for tall clamps, but these small clamps work really good. So anything under a couple feet will kind of fit here. So I basically have this size, you know, and then the smaller F clamps go over here too. This was built a little differently. You can see these are just kind of a plywood base with cleats every so often and just attached to the wall, and the F clamps just slide right in, and that's how they work. So I wanted to try 2 different ways when I did that initial video. These down here work great too. I don't have an issue with them at all. The only problem I have is where my faucet is right here. Sometimes they get a little weird, so I put these tiny ones in there, but that's not really too big of a problem. Everything seems to be okay with the clamps down here. I don't really have an issue down here either. It works. They're easy to grab. They're kind of, I don't have to bend down to get them, but they're still accessible. Let's go ahead and take a look at the midsection. That's where I think some improvement can be done. Right here I got some storage for my spring clamps. This works pretty well. I don't really have too much of an issue with it. It is just a board. It is pocket screwed onto this backer board, and it just holds the clamps. I just clamp them to the board, and it holds them pretty well. And I even have up top my Craig clamp for when I do pocket hole stuff. And yeah, I do pocket hole stuff on some stuff, but this has worked pretty good. And I put 2 of them in. And not a bad idea there. It's just sometimes they get, there's the handle for my drill press in the corner there. So if there's a clamp and I go to turn this, it kind of gets in the way, depending on how high the table is. They just sort of get in the way there. You can store a couple down low, but this second one has kind of been useless in where it's located. But this one over here works good. This placement was just not the best. I also have right here a nail with some samples for Formica. And the idea was I would use these during glue ups to kind of put in between the clamps. Not a bad idea. I picked them up free. We were looking to get some Formica for a project I was doing, but I got some samples, and then I was like, oh, well, you know, we can just, they already had holes in them. We can just keep them over here. But I never really use them, so they're kind of a waste. Okay, so right here I have room for my pipe clamps. And there's basically two dowels that are screwed in from the back into this kind of board here. They're a little loose, but they're still in there pretty strong, and I haven't really had too much of an issue with them. The clamps go up there nice and easy. I can stack them. I can even put this one clamp that someone was going to throw away because it was slightly rusty. And they didn't want this one too because it was slightly rusty. I cleaned the one up, I didn't clean the other. So this works good. Don't really have an issue with it. I'm going to keep that the way it is. This one here was specifically made for this edge band clamp. It's not a bad clamp. I don't even really know where I picked it up. I think I picked it up at a yard sale or one of the antique stores or flea markets around here. I think I picked it up for like $1. It's actually a pretty good clamp, especially for $1. So kind of have it in this area here. There's just, I mean, it's just kind of a waste of space. I don't really have that many of them. I thought maybe I would get more, but never really did. So this could probably be done a little better. It just takes up a little too much space for one clamp. Okay, so I have this section here for these. I have two of these type of clamps. They're corner clamps I picked at Harbor Freight. They're not too bad. They work. I don't really have too much of a problem with them. What I do have a problem with is this. It's a little flimsy. These don't really hold in there too well. They hold them there, but I don't pull them on and off a lot. I don't use those clamps a whole lot. So I tend to really kind of would like to re-engineer this some. I think we could do a little bit of better work there. So I have a set of these corner clamps. They're old Craftsman clamps that were my dad's that you know I now have. So I'll never get rid of them. They're made of aluminum, so they're actually more robust than expected. Even the Harbor Freight ones are made out of metal, but these just feel a little more solid, and they're a lot smaller, so they're easier to get into smaller areas. But they don't really have a home, so they sit in this bin here. So I made this tray, and it's worked out pretty good. I have my band clamps here. They're just Bessie band clamps. They're just nice. I put them in Ziploc bags, so I make sure I have all the corner pieces and stuff that goes with them, the wrench. I have two of those. There is a pair of safety glasses that I didn't even know was over here. I found these, the tiniest, cutest clamps, but they can't really go in my C-clamp rack, so they don't really have a home. But I found those. And then I have these, a bunch of wooden squares that I put in here, right? And these are used for blocks when you want to not let the actual clamp pad damage the wood. I very rarely grab them. I guess I kind of forget they're over here. And a clothespin for some reason. It kind of becomes a catch-all. It's not it's not the best. It's not the worst. If I can get, I think, my corner clamp somewhere else, I think it will work a little better, but there's a couple things that could be better with it. The bottom is solid, so it does catch dust. And if I pan over and come down, forgive my camera work, this is meant to slide open sort of by mistake. It sort of is falling apart. And I put a little block back here just so I could sweep it out every now and then, but I never do. So some improvement there can be done. Okay, there you have it, guys. There's my clamp rack. For the most part, I like it. There's 90% of it I love, and it will work great, and I'm not going to change it. Someday, I think maybe we'll go back and we'll fix those things I don't like. We'll make them beefier or substantial or work better, or a lot for maybe some new clamps, or some of those clamps I acquired, find basically homes for them on my clamp rack. My clamp rack project was one of my most viewed projects I did, so I thought it'd be really good to kind of go back, review it, and see, what worked and what didn't work. So, thanks for coming to my shop. I'll see you next time.